Hey guys, good morning. This is Shawn from Voices from the Dirt Road. Glad to have you joining us on the show. Hey, this is our 11th episode. I want to first take time this morning to say thank you to everybody who watched us last week. When you had, I think it was like almost 8 hours of episodes that you could have spent time with your family on the Thanksgiving holiday and actually just watch those. We did get some questions from that, and we will try to address those questions either in this episode or further episodes in the future. In addition to that, I also want to say to you, hey, this show continues to grow. As you can see, we got some more lighting and the whole 9 yards. Things are getting better. But also, I want to let you know that starting today, this show is officially a podcast. So that means that you can go to your local app store, whatever you want to do, and just type in their voices from the Dirt Road, and you'll be able to pull us up, look at us whenever you want to. But I would suggest to you, the best way to watch this show is live, because if you watch it live, you can put your questions in there. And today, we got a real special guest. I'm excited to I'll give you the opportunity to talk to her, ask her some things, because today, guys, we are talking about cattle production. We're talking about how do we get the cattle producer to be able to control some prices, but we'll get to that. But before we jump to all those things, let me jump in here and talk a little bit about what has happened this week in agriculture. And even before I jump on that, I want to just talk to you. This past holiday weekend, you try to spend time with the family, but at the same time, us as farmers, you still got to get outside. And let me just kind of give you an update on what's been going on my farm. Do we have a video of when I was putting out some hay? Guys, as you can see there, it is to our audience that maybe live in the city. We love you. But this is at least on my farm, is every other day that I have to put out hay. The cows are doing extremely well. Condition is great. As y'all guys know, if you remember from some of the early episodes, I actually just went and bought a few cattle from two outstanding farms, one up in Kentucky or Tennessee, the other one down in Alabama. Brought some more red Angus onto the farm. Great genetics, and those cows are doing well, filling in with my entire herd. Our herd is growing, and like I've said many a times, I did roughly about 40 years. Did 40 years in the military. Got out. That's not what this show is about. This show is about talking to the rural community, and at the same time, talking to our farmers, talking to urban America, and saying, hey, this is what's going on in the rural community. And I just want to give you a glimpse of behind the scenes, what I was doing this week. The cows are great. And I just can't say, I'm just so proud to be able to live this dream out here on the farm. So let's jump into what's going on. As y'all guys know, we have the stew. Can we show the stew just to make sure everybody understands? We call this stew, or I call this stew, is to kind of keep us focused on what is our intent. What is my intent when I do this show with you? One, we talk about row crops. When we talk about row crops, that's when we're talking about soybeans, peanuts, cotton, you name it. But in addition to that, we talk about livestock. On the livestock side of the house, we talk about cattle, poultry, goats, you name it, fishery, whatever. And then on the forestry side of the house, in one of the episodes, we had a great show where we talked about what was going on in the forestry industry. We know here in Georgia, and across the nation, we have paper mills that are shutting down, and is affecting our rural and small communities and the forestry community. But ultimately, we all know that all three of these legs are supported by the USDA, Department of Agriculture. And guess what? Right now, seem like with Department of Agriculture, every time they talk to us about something, it's always in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks. So at the end of the day, we're going to keep working with Department of Agriculture. The guys, I want to make sure in this show you understand, the guys that are at the local level, what works for the Department of Agriculture, is doing an awesome job. I also believe the people that at the very top, they're trying. It's kind of tough right now with all the tariffs and everything else is going on. But it seems like every time we hear a briefing from Secretary Rollins, that she's talking about, yep, in 2 weeks, next month, next year, all those kind of things. I'm concerned farmers are going to be in a tight here, and some farmers are going to start having to file for bankruptcy. And at the end of the day, you see there at the top, it talks about passing the farm bill. Our farm bill is based on 2018 expenses. Inputs are out the roof. Fertilizer is crazy. Every kind of input you can think is crazy. That's why we need to get that farm bill passed. And because we're about to talk about SNAP, I want to make sure that everybody understand when you talk about the farm bill, 60+% of the farm bill is the SNAP payments. And that's why it's important to not only the farmers, but it's also important to rural America and across America as a whole. Because just right here in Georgia, we got a lot of people that are dependent on SNAP, and I'm so glad to know that the SNAP program is back up and running and the government's back open. So let's move on. Let's get into the SNAP piece just real quick. And I just want to make an announcement. I'm going to look at my screen because I want to make sure I got this right. Here in Georgia, people that's actually eligible to receive SNAP here in Georgia are currently there. Everybody's up to date. Bottom line, everybody should have received their SNAP payments. It was a rumor out there that says some people had not received their SNAP payments. We actually called and checked, and we were told that everybody has actually received their benefits. But if you hadn't, you need to get in touch with the person at the particular local office where you get your things and go in person or call in and work that particular issue. But as far as Georgia is concerned, everybody that's actually on SNAP should have received their SNAP and even their back payments. So if that's not the case, please put something into the chat or put something into the questions, and we'll help follow up with you and tell us where you're asking that question from, because every state, is a little different when it comes to SNAP. So with that, can you all guys play the very first video for me, and we'll see what's going on out there.
Changes everything for our country. And then the third thing, we have so much great things to talk about at USDA, but the third thing, which became very much a part of the national conversation during the Democrat shutdown, was SNAP reform, food stamp reform. When all of America saw what so many of us know and have been working on, but when you have so much rampant fraud in a program that 42 million Americans participate in, now big good piece of news that I hope is written about. Since you became president, about 800,000 of those 42 million have moved off of food stamps, which is hopefully the plan, with better jobs, higher wages, etc. But still, when we found 186,000 dead people's Social Security numbers being used, 500,000 people receiving benefits more than twice. We had a couple of people receiving benefits in 6 states. In February of this year, we asked for all the states for the first time to turn over their data to the federal government, to let the USDA partner with them to root out this fraud, to make sure that those who really need food stamps are getting them, but also to ensure that the American taxpayer is protected. 21 states said yes, not surprised. 29 states said yes, not surprisingly, the red states, and that's where all of that data, that fraud comes from. But 21 states, including California, New York, and Minnesota, the blue states, continue to say no.
Well, guys, as you can see there, Secretary Rollins, our agricultural secretary, she believes that it is fraud in our SNAP program. I don't know that or not. That's not my lane to make those type of decisions. One of the things I do know, over the Thanksgiving break, she said that people that are getting SNAP are not going to have to go and re-up again or reapply. My only concern with that, and we will follow up with Georgia, and I encourage you to follow up with your state, is do they actually have the manpower to actually manage all of these people? Because we're talking about millions of people, to get them actually qualified. What I don't want to see happen is, because we think somebody's doing something wrong, that we punish everybody, because SNAP mainly goes to our seniors and go to our most needy kids. And I want to make sure that our most needy kids continue and our seniors continue to get their SNAP. And as you can see, that was the other day inside of the cabinet meeting with the president. Hey, guys, let's go straight on to that second one there, because I think it fits in
another
what I was saying earlier.
Time we're reforming SNAP. That program is completely out of control. But what we can do is pivot a lot of that money to healthier, locally produced protein like beef and chicken and pork and the fruits you just mentioned. So more coming on that early next year as we begin to shift how we're buying food and really supporting the American farmers. But to your point, the farm economy, we do have a package, a bridge package we're finalizing. I was with Secretary Bessent yesterday over at the Treasury Department, sort of figuring out exactly what that's going to look like as we're getting new data in every day. So that announcement will come next week. Again, it's just a bridge to get us to next year for the president's promise that he wasn't going to leave any of our farmers behind. But we're building that out, finalizing it as we speak, and we'll talk about it more next week.
You know, I'm happy to hear that perhaps we're going to look at our SNAP program and try to figure out how we can get more fruits and vegetables and all those kind of things. All of that sounds great. However, if you know anything about me, you have to get into the details and have to lay that plan out. So we'll see. It sounds great. We'll see what they're going to push out. Like I said earlier, I don't want anything to hold up our seniors and our youth, our kids actually getting the subsidies that they actually need just to be able to eat and survive every day. But also, if you notice, it is becoming a theme with our secretary, and I wish he would come to our show. If you know her, please reach out to her and say, hey, come talk to us here on the Voices from the Dirt Road, because it seems like every week she says something's coming out in the next 2 weeks. Something's coming out in the next 2 weeks. And if I'm not mistaken, she's now been saying that almost 4 months. But who's counting? But we're going to see. Hopefully they get something out here real soon. And she kind of pushed it to the new year. So I'm thinking we're going to see something in January, but we'll see what's going to happen in January. Hey, let's move on to the next area, which is row crop, soybeans. You know, guys, hey, I feel sorry for my brothers that are planting soybeans or actually got soybeans, because right now it does not look like China is really, they buying, but they not buying at the level that we thought they're supposed to be buying at. So I'm concerned that we're not going to hit the goals that we were told we were supposed to hit. But let's get the update. Can you play that first video?
Tell me if I'm wrong.
Soybeans.
My understanding is that you said in the White House, it said that China was going to buy 12 million metric tons of soybeans from the United States by January. We're now just about a month and a half away from that. They have, according to the USDA report, only made 2 big purchases, and they total in total 332,000 metric tons. How is that pledge, if that is a real pledge, and China has not confirmed that pledge, going to be made in that quick a time?
Andrew, thank you. We're actually about 1.5 million metric tons, but your point is still salient, right? That 1.5 million of 12 million, we've got a significant way to go. I know they are inking the deal this week or next week. Again, every sign is their commitment remains true, that they will indeed buy or purchase 12 million metric tons or put the order in. It doesn't mean we'll move 12 million metric tons by the end of December, but it means that those orders will come in according to their commitment and their promise to our president and to Secretary Bessent and to Ambassador Greer. So again, we have every indication that those will continue to move. Even if the purchase order comes in before the end of December, those will move.
You know, guys, the only concern that I have with that, China is playing chess, big time chess. And what I'm concerned is China going to slow this thing down so much that our farmers, our soybean farmers, are not going to be able to survive. And many of our farmers are going to go bankrupt. Their farms are going to be sold. And the next thing you know, they're going to turn into planting houses on farmland. So that is my concern. Let's stay on top of this. Because right now I don't see it happening. When we got that information, that was earlier in the week. We are now less than 4 weeks away from the new year. Obviously, we're in December now. But in addition to that, you know, it's very concerning. I would love to be able to get the soybean president. You see him a lot talking. He's been up to Congress talking. I think he's from Arkansas. I would love to get him here on the show and just have a conversation and let him tell us where we're at, because, you know, when I'm running around here in Georgia, I see plenty of soybean patches. You know, my brother, he plants cotton and peanuts this year, but in past years, we have had our soybeans, and just so happened we didn't plant any this year. So I got skin in the game just like you, and I just want to make sure that we getting the facts out to you so you can plan accordingly. I think we have one more video on soybeans, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, guys. Oh, we got a question from guess what? Let me look at the question. I didn't realize that we had a question. Got a question. Can you put the question back up again, please? Are soybeans a big crop in Georgia? Yes, soybeans, it's not the biggest. Peanuts is probably the biggest, peanuts and cotton. But soybeans is definitely one of those crops that make sure that farmers' complete portfolio is where it needs to be. So yes, it is significant enough that some farmers, some years they plant soybeans, other years they plant cotton, other years they plant peanuts. So depending on where they actually rotate in their crops, they could actually have hundreds and hundreds of acres of soybeans. So that's why it's so important that I'm speaking for those farmers that this year they actually had an outstanding crop of soybeans. The problem is they don't have a damn place to sell them. And if you don't actually have the storage facility, now you're going to be losing money. And if we don't have that buyer coming in from China, I'm not sure there's Brazil and all these other places out there can pick up that thing. So I hopefully I answer your question. But let's move on to our next video, and then if there's more questions, please bring them in.
Farmers might get helped eventually. That hasn't happened yet, right? 15 billion is it in the works? And it's okay. So we do tariffs on one hand. That's to try to accomplish one thing, but that hurts. That has unintended consequences, maybe with farmers. So we're using this 15 billion for. Was it a good idea? Was it positive in the end? I guess you can use some of the tariff proceeds maybe for the 15 billion for the farmer.
So a couple of quick points on that. First of all, what the president did with Liberation Day, with enacting all these tariffs back in February, we now have dozens of new trade deals. And within Indonesia, Australia, Japan, EU, England, it's just remarkable. And a lot of these deals, people tried for 20, 25 years to get these deals. Again, under the last administration, we didn't have one new trade deal. We went from a agriculture trade surplus under Trump 1 to a deficit, $50 billion deficit in just agriculture. So think about the effects on our farmers and our ranchers. $50 billion is a significant amount when you're growing corn or soybeans or apples or whatever you're growing. So being able to solve for that, which now we're doing, again, it's incredible. But to your point about the aid, the president always said he would take care of the farmers. They have been with him since he came down the escalator just a few blocks from here in 2015 and began this next chapter. So yes, we are looking at the aid right now. We have always said it is to solve for, to mitigate anything under these new trade negotiations. Every day that changes, and that's what we're working. So we'll have an announcement probably in the next week or two on what that's going to look like.
Families are going to see $10 a pound ground beef in the grocery store. So we're in for a bit of a haul here.
Secretary, that's crazy, $10 a pound for beef.
Well, and listen, I have not met him. Obviously, he is a very impressive, and I'm actually making a note to myself to get in touch with him. Our numbers are not showing that, and to your point, beef is an outlier. We have the lowest cattle herd in 75 years. This isn't just in America; it's around the world, and there's a lot of reason for that. I mean, the Biden-Harris administration had a war on cattle because they talked about climate change, and cattle. It was crazy. And then we've had a screwworm issue south of the border, so our ports have been closed.
What is your take on what you just heard? He's expecting $10 meat.
Well, Maria, the beef market is a very specialized market. It goes in long cycles, and this is the perfect storm. Again, something we inherited, and there's also, because of the mass immigration, a disease that we've been rid of in North America, made its way up through South America. As these migrants, they brought some of their cattle with them. So part of the problem is we've had to shut the border to Mexican beef because of this disease called the screwworm. So we're not going to let that get into our supply chain. And again, I don't want to focus on one product. It's a very important product, and we are laser focused on this issue. And
What is your
All
take
right,
on
guys. Can y'all see me again? You know what? The cool thing about my show or this show is we do it live. And when you do something live, appreciate it. Sometimes when you do some stuff live, the gremlins get on top of you. And guess what they did today? Some kind of way the gremlins jumped over there and turned my camera off. So I had to jump up, get out of this chair, run around there, turn it back on, and make it work. But the cool thing is, guess what? I got an incredible staff behind me that played a couple of videos to give me time to make that happen. So let's give a hand clap to the staff behind the scenes. Excellent. So let me just kind of catch us back up. That last 2 videos ago, we was talking about soybeans. One of the things I just wanted to say about the soybean situation is, guess what? Farmers don't want a check. They actually want a place to sell their product. So that's that. Now let's just go on and move into the cattle. You saw them both. And I just want to say this. As y'all guys know, I am a cattle producer. So this is near and dear to my heart. As you saw, they are saying that cattle prices at the grocery store, beef price at the grocery store could get as high as $10. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I would tell you $10 at the grocery store doesn't mean that we're going to get more money for our beef that we sell out to in the stockyards and all those kind of things. In addition to that, just like was always said, something's coming to help us out in the next 2 weeks or whatever. I tell you, this is turning into a theme. And I want to talk to the right people in DC, get them on the show and say, hey, can you just talk to the people right here on our show, Voices from the Dirt Road, and tell us, when do you think aid's going to come out to the farmers? And when I say that aid, I don't care if we're talking about soybeans. I don't care if we're talking about the cattle. I don't care if we're talking about fruit trees, whatever we're talking about. When do you think that aid's going to come? So with that being said, we're going to get to the best part of the show right now. Let me see how many people watching the show right now. It's roughly about 600 people watching the show. So let me say thank you for getting up this early in the morning. I think it's let me look and see. It's 7:23 Georgia time. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to our people that watch us from the cities. Thank you to our farmers that actually in between feeding the cows or whatever else you do, you come in, you grab a cup of coffee, and you spend a little time with us. If this is your first time to the show, when I finish drinking my cup of coffee, the show's over. And then I go outside and do all my chores here on the farm. But one of the things that I really am excited about today is this. We have the opportunity to talk to an expert, somebody that's making a difference out there. And it's Casey. She's part of the American Ranchers Alliance. And I look forward to having that discussion. And I encourage you to send your questions in. And the reason why I kind of moved through things a little bit faster this morning is because I wanted to give her as much time as possible to convey to you what she's doing, because what she's doing is another way that cattle producers could sell their product directly to the consumer. So great show this morning. Let's play the video of Casey, and then we'll get it on.
Say small ranchers could never feed America without the big four. But that's only true if you don't understand how the beef system works. Small and mid-sized ranchers already raise most of the beef in this country. The big four don't raise cattle. They only control the factories at the end. Right now, those 4 companies control about 85% of all slaughter capacity. So everyone else has to squeeze into the tiny amount of space they leave behind. And that's why regional plants are booked, not because ranchers can't supply beef. If you removed the big 4 tomorrow, the cattle don't disappear. Ranchers still produce them just like we always have. The only thing that changes is where the cattle get processed. We already have regional processors shipping beef nationwide. Creekstone, Cavaness, Strauss, Aurora, White Oak Pastures, and many more. They're smaller, but they work. And more would pop up fast if the choke point was gone. Without the big four, processing would spread out, not shut down. More regional plants, more competition, fairer prices, and a safer food system. If we changed the laws so state-inspected processors could ship beef nationwide, we would instantly open up thousands of new options. That alone proves America does not need the four companies to function. Ranchers already feed America. We always have. The only thing stopping a better system is a bottleneck controlled by four corporations, not the lack of beef.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, before we go to our guests, play the video of where the cattle producing processing plant is closing. Play that.
Well, the news of a major Tyson Foods plant shutting down tore the heart from one Nebraska community, but the impacts stretch statewide. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rob McCartney.
I'm Julie Cornell. We were in Lexington last week talking with people impacted, but it also comes as a shakeup to agriculture and meat packing across the state.
KTV News Watch 7 Capitol Bureau Chief John Grinvold has this report.
They feel like their life is over.
Last week, Lexington was a community left drifting.
Some of our concerns are
grasping for solutions as Tyson announced a major plant closure.
Half of our kids have parents that work at the plant, so it's a huge deal.
But the fallout will reach far beyond Lexington and hit the beef industry especially hard, according to Nebraska ag leaders.
It's just not the closing of a plant, it's closing of that whole economy that goes around that.
The closure set for January won't just affect the 3,200 workers inside the plant. Truckers and producers weave their way onto the compound with their roughly 4,000 heads of cattle a day.
Those cattle have to go somewhere. It's really the center of the cattle feeding industry up here in Nebraska. There's been more growth around this plant within the 200 miles.
There are other plants in Nebraska, like in Grand Island, North Platte, Schuyler, and Omaha. But whether they can pick up the slack is an open question.
It's a logistics nightmare. You have to now add that time. These trucks are going to have to go farther, right? So you really need more trucks on the road, which then you need more truck drivers.
One cause for the catastrophe. The American Farm Bureau says the national cattle herd is at its smallest in 73 years, down to 87 million from 94 million just a few years ago, putting a strain on packers who process fewer heads a day.
I do believe the herd will grow. It's just going to be at a slower pace.
But then there will be fewer packers, fueling more economic uncertainty down the line.
The pinch point, my gut says we're going to have in a couple of years if we don't get a plant like Lexington retooled.
Reporting for KTV News.
All right. Now it's time to bring our guests on. Casey, are you there?
Hey, good morning.
Good to see you, Casey. Welcome to Voices from the Dirt Road. I think you out in Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Wyoming.
Wyoming. Wow. What time is it in Wyoming right now?
5:29.
Woo, thank you. Thank you. All the way from Georgia. Thank you. And also, I want to thank you. Right now, I'm looking up at the top of this thing. It's almost 900 people watching right now. So, awesome. And live, and probably by 10 o'clock today at Eastern time, it'll be 30,000 people who watch this thing. So, you know, I want to make sure that you clearly understand a whole lot of people are going to be listening to what you got to say, and they will probably be asking questions. So let me just start off with the most easy question. Hey, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about the American Ranchers Alliance?
Yeah. So I'm a cattle rancher in Wyoming, and I do farm to table and all of that. So I know all the struggles. But I founded the American Rancher Alliance, and we are a nonprofit producer member owned co-op. And what we're doing is we're going around the big four, creating our own supply chain. So 91% of our cattle producers in the United States are small ranchers. and they can't get into the grocery stores by themselves. And farm to table can be an absolute nightmare. You've got marketing, you've got distribution, you have shipping costs and just everything. It's a real nightmare. It can be for so many people. And so what we're doing is we are combining the ranchers together and we're getting them into the grocery stores. So and then when they're in the grocery stores, there'll be a label on the meat that says American Ranger Alliance, and there'll be a QR code that the customer can scan, the consumer, and it's going to tell you who that ranch is that raised it, what kind of beef it is, how it was raised, what it was fed, vaccine schedules, and then we have a no antibiotic, no hormone. It's mandatory within the alliance because that's what the American consumer is asking for, especially when our food now is just absolutely horrible.
So Casey, thank you for that. Hey, and as you know, I'm a cattle producer myself here in Georgia. And you're way out there in Wyoming. I don't know why I thought you was in Texas, but you way out there in Wyoming. Is your organization just there in Wyoming, or are you regional, or are you nationwide? Can you kind of talk us through that and how that process works?
Yeah, I originally wanted to start it in the Southeast by itself in Florida because we're actually moving our ranch from Wyoming to Florida. But it exploded. And so we are nationwide now, and we have over 100 producers on board already. We have retail locations interested. We have, which we're working on pricing and all of that as of right now. And then we have processors, and we're not using big four packers at all. We're using the smaller guys because they're the ones being pushed out as well by the big four. So we're getting blocks in with them and bringing American beef back to American consumers.
So the excellent. Thank you. So at the end of the day, if there's no if in it. I am a cattle producer here in Georgia, and I know a lot of cattle producers here in Georgia. Has anybody from Georgia already joined your alliance? So that some of our audience just from my state, but we got people watching us from all over. But if somebody wanted to say, hey, let me call this particular other farm and ask how this thing works, do you have some examples from people from Georgia?
Oh yeah, we have several producers in Georgia. Y'all were some of the first people that really showed up on the as for signing up with the alliance there. And I've been calling all the producers to meet them all, and they're amazing. And their stories are amazing. I mean, yeah. And they understand the problem. And especially with just like the Tyson plant shutting down, it's a national security issue when foreign companies own 85% of your beef supply.
Exactly.
Or that's insane. We have, let's see. Do you want specific?
No, just just at the end of the day, I just want our viewers to understand. And the only reason I'm using my state is because if they're in Georgia, they're everywhere. But I know farmers, cattle producers like me, I want to make sure that they understand after the show is over. If they don't call you directly, because sometimes the farmer won't call you directly, but they will call another farmer that's in our state and say, hey man, I saw you on this crazy guy by the name of Shawn on his Voices from the Dirt Road show, and they mentioned that somewhere in Georgia you were doing this. Can you tell us the unbiased side of this thing? So is it anywhere in Georgia that people could call?
I mean, they can call me directly and talk to me. I mean, I've talked with the producers. I'm sure that they would be happy, but I'd have to, check with them,
Get permission.
Okay.
But it's my understanding it is some producers here in Georgia that's part of the alliance.
Oh yeah.
Excellent. And what we will do is as you and I develop our relationship, we will I would tell you on my farm, and I'm connected to several farmers that produce. We're not the biggest guys, but we're also not the smallest. We have a question that popped up here. Basically, how big does your farm need to be, or your ranch needs to be, to participate in your program?
Yep. Really any size. If you have one head of cattle, you can be a producer. And if you've got 1,000, you can be a producer. But it is one member, one vote. So it doesn't matter how big or small you are, you get one vote within there because it needs to be fair. We don't want any lobbying. We don't want any influence that's not outside of a group voting decision within the alliance.
Okay. So that was great. I'm glad we're getting questions in from farmers. That says people are paying attention. Right now, I just want you to know that you got well over 1,000 people that are actually watching you live right now. So we're getting the word out. Another thing that was actually in my head as we were preparing for this show is when the cows leave my farm. I'll use my farm as an example. Are they, do I put them on a truck and they shipped out to you, or do they go to some local place here and they're slaughtered here and then go into our grocery stores? Can you walk us through that process?
Yeah, so the alliance will send the truck to you, and then we'll pick them up and we'll take them to the closest processor that we have a slot with. We're trying to get them in every region, even state processors, because if the grocery store is in Georgia, we can use a state inspected facility. And that's one of the the executive orders that we really need the president to sign is state inspected facilities to ship nationwide because they have equal to or better than USDA inspected plants. And it's all for the big four. I mean, it would open up that chokehold and lower prices for consumers on the end too. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, we it's gonna go locally to you. Unless we have to fill a spot, say in Tennessee. We've got a retailer in Tennessee. So well, it's going to be as close as we can to that area.
So that means when the consumer goes in X store, whatever store that is, and like you talked about, the barcode on there would say American Rancher Alliance, they could put their phone over the top and it'll tell them that it came from '07 Farms, Rockmart, Georgia, dot 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 dot, dot. And then they could look on their phone and say, hey, Rockmart, Georgia is only 80 miles away from here. And that's what local means versus, okay, you go to Walmart today, you buy a piece of beef and you have no clue where that beef came from. Hell, it might have come from Argentina. I don't know. That's an inside joke. I don't know.
Brazil, most likely.
Brazil.
Yeah. But yeah, and then it also gives the ranchers information. So if you want to buy a freezer beef, whole, half, quarter from that producer because you love that steak, then it's easy. You just contact them directly. And
So that is I didn't even think about that. So by these ranchers, cattle producers joining your alliance, for all practical purposes, is helping them set up their direct beef operations. So because by them pushing certain meat through you, it then gives them a lot more exposure, and that means more local people within their area may say, you know what, I saw this and I love his meat. Let's call him or go directly to that farm and buy directly. So really what you're doing is not only doing a nationwide thing, but you're actually being the foundation or the backbone for all these direct sales farms across the board. Is it only beef, or do you do some other products?
so
Proteins.
we're starting with beef. I started with beef because that seems to be our largest issue right now. But we have poultry producers onboarding, goat, lamb, all of that, and we're going to work that in as we go. But we're starting with beef so we can try to get the all the hiccups out of everything, and get it steady. get it steady.
This is 100% a grassroots organization.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And how long have y'all been up and going?
It's been about God, not even a month yet.
Oh, so you're actually spanking brand new.
Yeah. And it's growing into just this massive monster movement. It's really everybody is 100% on board with it. And our biggest thing is transparency with from the producer to the consumer. Like that's our biggest thing because everybody's so sick of the lies, especially around their food. And yeah, and that's what America wants. They want truth. They want
Okay.
transparency.
Outstanding. And I think I asked, but sometimes I can't remember what I asked or not. You are a cattle producer, or are you just the person that we see on TikTok?
Oh no, I'm a cattle producer. Yeah, I do seed stock, and then we do farm to table, and I've been doing the farm to table side for about 5 years now, and it's hard, and then you have ups and downs also. So like during the summer, nobody buys farm to table beef. It's really hard to get it sold, but this now it'll be in the grocery stores for that person. They can fill those spots and put their cattle into the grocery stores. So, and a lot of it's hard with the marketing, and then the shipping costs are outrageous because I have to
Yeah.
ship from here because there's nobody over by me, you know. And if they are around me, they raise cattle, so they have beef. So, uh, yeah, it,
So as y'all guys are growing, um, is it major grocery store chains that are saying yes, come on in, or is it more the smaller mom and pop grocery stores that are saying, "Yep, we want you to bring the beef in"?
well, like yesterday we're partnering with a it's a smaller chain, but like they have 13 grocery stores pretty much throughout the southeast, and they're working their way over, and they're opening 12 more next year. And then by year 3, he plans on having about 100 stores open. So they're smaller, and then there's also restaurants and all of that too. We are going to work on getting into things like Publix and some of those retail chains.
And we got a question. It says, "Does this help to bring down beef prices?"
Yes, it does. So we are giving the producer what they need, but in volume, because we're doing it in volume, we're negotiating cut prices with the processors on that end. And so we're getting discounts running in value. Um, so yeah, it'll bring it down a lot,
Yeah.
especially compared to farm to table beef.
Right. So if I understand what you're saying, is say for instance here on my farm, and one of the lines of effort that we kind of talked about, my wife and I talked about here on our farm is we do cow calf operations, and we sell the calves, all those kind of things. But if we would ever get into farm to table, we had all when we penciled out the math. That's how you got to do. You got to pencil this math out.
Oh yeah.
Penciled out the math. I'm not going to say that the math was equaling on both sides, because when I went to the processor, I couldn't show him that I was going to bring enough beef in there on any given year to actually be able to negotiate a better price where he can still make some money, they can still make some money, but I can also make some money, but I can give a better price to the consumer. What you're saying is, because we're all working together, when I'm not bringing a cow in there, 2 or 3 cows, somebody else is also bringing 2 or 3, somebody else is also bringing 2 or 3, and that helps keep that small processing place running and making things happen. Hey, the
Yeah.
team just did an outstanding job. Those are my cows. I raise red Angus and black Angus, and I do have 1 or 2 Charolais, but our main farm is red Angus. It's a combination between some of the cows are registered, most are commercial, but at the end of the day, very good genetics. That's a picture of me. I think early this summer when we had plenty of grass out there. We're in the middle of the winter right now.
Yeah, they're nice looking cows.
Yeah, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. I've been out of the military now 2.5 years, I think. And we started this farm from scratch. And I'm just proud that like all other farmers, you have to start somewhere. You start small, and you just continue to grow. But I also understand that if you grow too fast, you can stumble, and everybody's farm is not built to be big. So you can, when if you're in the cattle business, I think any kind of business, as far as when you're dealing with animals, you only can grow so many animals on your land, whatnot. Based on our farm, I know I will not be running 100 head of cattle, just based on the size of my farm. However, I do know that I can produce the best cattle possible, in turn, that even if I'm selling it to somebody else as a genetics, or if I'm saying, look at the marbling, and now that gets to the farm to table side of it, we have it there. Let me see. It says here, how does the farms need to be? Oh, can you see the question there? I'm not sure if you can see it like I
Yeah.
can see it. You see we have
Yeah.
another question there. Can you address that?
Yeah, any size. So if you own, a cow calf here, and then, or if you own 500, it doesn't matter. If you're a producer, you're on there. If you're a rancher.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, we've been on now about 46 minutes. Right now, it's roughly about 1,300 and some people watching you. That's incredible. I don't know how many people are watching you from Wyoming right now. But if they are, I'll tell them hi. Hey, how you doing? Um, the reason why, to the audience out there, the reason why I'm looking at my computer screen is because I'm not a paid professional actor, and I actually think it's rude for me to talk to you in the TV in my screen over here, when she's looking at me on my computer. So I know I'm breaking all the rules. I'm going to look down so it makes it seems like I'm having a conversation with her, because this part of the show here is where I'm actually having a conversation with my guests, and you are getting a chance to benefit from the conversation and get additional information. Look what my staff keep doing. My staff keeps putting up nice little pictures. That little guy there was born on our farm, I think about maybe a month and a half ago now. One of the things that we're trying to do is get our farm into a cycle that all the calves have at the same time. I would tell you that is not the easiest process. I'll just say that. We do artificial insemination, and sometime it works, sometime it don't. And just so happened, this little guy here, his mom got pregnant the first time, and we got a calf. But now I'm still waiting to later on this month, first part of January, and everybody else should be having a calf. So we're learning. Farming is something that you have to love. Farming is something that is, in my opinion, is hard, but it's fun. And I love the fact that, just like I spent those time in the military trying to protect the United States and American people, now my job is to try to help feed the American people. And that's why I wanted to get you on the show. I think what you're doing is outstanding. I hope and pray that we just put up on the screen your website. I want people to go to the website. I want people to reach out to you. I want people to farmers, guys and ladies that are trying to get it into the from the field to the table. I want those cattlemen that want to go direct sales to reach out to you today. I don't want them to overwhelm you, okay? Because you still don't want them to overwhelm you. I want to make sure I couch that a little bit, because right now we got roughly about 1,400 people that are watching us now live. But I do want to say to them, this is a great program that you have. I think it will work. However, we need more cattlemen to at least have the conversation and see through their programs, what they have on their farm. Will your program benefit them? And if it does, I encourage them to join it. What I will do today, I promise you today, when I finish this show, I'm meeting with some other farmers this morning, and this is going to be our conversation. And I'm going to encourage them to go back and look at the show. So you may be getting some more calls from Northwest Georgia, specifically talking about what you're doing, because I know at least 10 farmers around here that this is their business. But guess what? They struggle trying to find a processor to slaughter to process the meat.
Mhm.
And then they also struggle to when they get it slaughtered, they sometimes struggle to make sure they got a customer, because sometimes the customer says, yes, I want a box of meat, a half or whatever. And then after it's all said and done,
Back out.
money's kind of tight now and all those kind of things. So
Mhm.
that's what kind of concerns some of the farmers, is they go down this whole path and get it to the final product, and then the person backs out. Do you have any kind of control measures to get around that, or is it because y'all guys are reaching across the board so much that the meat still will have somewhere to go, just in case that individual says, I can't afford it this time, I'm sorry?
Yes, we'll have somewhere for it to go regardless. So that is one thing that we will handle with the alliance. But I also want to let people know that it's not just for finishers and cow or farm to table. We
Mhm.
have cow calf producers and all of that as well, because we have a network of ranchers together within the alliance, and somebody that does backgrounding and finishing needs a cow calf, so they'll go to the cow calf person to purchase, and we go around the market prices because they're set by the big four.
Mhm.
We know in our alliance, in our group of ranchers, we know what somebody needs for to raise that calf, so it helps not having to get dumped on at the market.
Oh,
It's all private sale between the network, which is nice as well.
excellent. That is big time. So what I'm currently doing here on my farm on oh 07 Farms is a cow calf operation. What you're saying is, when it comes time for me to sell my calves, I could go into be part of your alliance, and instead of going to the stockyard,
Mhm.
my calves are sold inside of what we call a private treaty, but it's going to other guys that actually need those calves, and we get a fair price based on the real market, not what corporate America has set for that particular day.
Yes, because in the end, they're going to get a fair price as well on the retail side. We're making sure of that, and we're cutting the cost on on the supply chain portion of
Excellent.
it. So,
Excellent.
that's the thing is, American ranchers, if they don't start getting the money that they need, where there's not, it's going to be gone. It's going to
Yeah.
be gone.
And one of our earlier videos to kind of hinted that this is the smallest cow herd that was been in 50, 60, 70 years. I don't remember exactly what it said. And I think the American people need to understand that you just can't grow the cow herd back in 2 days. This is
No.
take a process to get it back. And I'm still not 100% sure if cattlemen like you and I are actually keeping heifers back. I'm not 100% sure based on prices. So yeah.
I I am, but I've talked to a lot of producers, and I'm like, yeah, you need to hold your heifers. Keep your
Yeah.
heifers back. Yeah.
So as we close out right now, we roughly got almost 1,500 people that are watching you live. They're not watching me. Nobody ever comes on this show to see me. They always come to see the guests. That's what it's all about.
Great.
Um, um, so what I will say to you is this: first of all, thank you. But before we close out, because I'm not sure did I tell you earlier, but the way the show closes out is when my cup is empty, the show's over and it's empty. But I want, and I think you were drinking a Monster. Do you still got some Monster left?
Oh yeah, I got a bunch in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, then don't shut it down. Okay. But
No.
what I want to do is just give you a closeout of anything that you want our viewers to know about what you're trying to do. Anything. I just want to give you a few seconds there, a few minutes, however you want to take it, so that when they watch this show, obviously they're watching live, but when they watch it on the podcast today, they will then say, hey, let me reach out to you and kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go onto the site, I have the bylaws up there and how it works, and it shows everything. And the one main thing that I want with the alliance is transparency from the producer all the way to the consumer. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly. My information is on there. You can join the movement. You can become a producer. You can, if you're a store that wants to serve American beef or be part of the or partner with the alliance, that's on there as well. And yeah, we are growing, and if this sounds good to you, let me know, and I will answer any questions that you need.
Hey, thank you for getting up early this morning. And I look forward to, I am personally going to look at everything for myself. Make sure I show it to my wife, and don't be surprised if Shawn Harris, the real guy, call you and say, hey, how you doing? I'm not calling for the show now. I'm calling for myself, and get more information. So again, I want to say thanks. I want to let you know about 1,500 people watching you live. That is awesome. Please tell your friends out there in Wyoming that this show will be back up, so they can look at it. You can share it. We're going to try our best to get the word out about your organization, because I think your organization is the way that farmers like you and I going to be able to fight to get back against the big machine that caused those four packers that at least one or two of them are foreign owned. And we, if we're going to make this thing happen, we can't just be dependent on the government. We got to stand up for ourselves. So with
Yeah.
that, wait, me see. It says from Facebook. Oh, Jerome. I know Jerome. Look forward to the network. That Jerome there, just to let you put that back up so people see it. Jerome there, you know, at the end of the day, him and I, in a different world, when we was in the military, we were in a place called Liberia, Africa. And we were talking about when we retire, we want to be cattle producers. Isn't that kind of cool?
Wow.
And he is actually watching us. And I know Jerome's going to reach out to you, because that's one of the things that he's trying to do down on his farm. He has some beautiful Black Angus cattle. But that is the reach of this show. Guys that I've served with all over the world are watching this thing, and now are veterans that are actually out in the cattle business. So you're going to be getting some phone calls. That is pretty cool. Facebook there is coming from a guy that I personally know. I used to cook a pot of spaghetti all for a big pot. We ate that all day, and then he would make the salad. But we spent a year together in Liberia, Africa. Was probably one of my best deployments. And now both of us are cattle producers, and here he is watching our show, and I guarantee he's going to be coming out to look at you. So, hey, let's just close this out. I want to say thank you. We've been basically going on for almost an hour, a little bit more than 1,500 people watching us. Hey, guess what? The cup is empty. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye, Shawn. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.